Senator Sanders, you've consistently refused to say exactly how much your Medicare for All plan is going to cost. Don't voters deserve to see the price tag before you send them a bill that could cost tens of trillions of dollars?
Well, what I will tell you is Medicare for All, which will guarantee comprehensive health care to every man, woman, and child, will cost substantially less than the status quo. Medicare for All will end the absurdity of the United States paying by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs and health care in general. While we have 87 million uninsured and uninsured and underinsured, and while 30,000 people die each year. Under Medicare for All, one of the provisions we have to pay for it is a 4% tax on income, exempting the first $29,000. So the average family in America that today makes $60,000 would pay $1,200 a year, compared to that family paying $12,000 a year. We save money, comprehensive health care, because we take on the greed and the profiteering and the administrative nightmare that currently exists in our dysfunctional system.
Vice President Biden, does Senator Sanders owe voters a price tag on his health care plan?
I think we need to be candid with voters. I think we have to tell them what we're going to do and what it's going to cost. And a 4% tax on income over $24,000 doesn't even come close to paying for between 30 and some estimates as high as $40 trillion over 10 years. That's doubling the entire federal budget per year. There's a way to do that. The way to do that is to take Obamacare, reinstate, rebuild it, provide a public option, allow Medicare for those folks who want it, and in fact, make sure that we, in the process, reduce the cost of drug prices, reduce the cost of being able to buy into subsidize it further, and make it available to everyone. Here's the deal. That costs a lot of money. That costs $740 billion over 10 years. I lay out how I pay for that.
Senator Sanders?
Well, first of all, what Joe forgets to say is when you leave the current system as it is, what you are talking about are workers paying, on average, 20% of their incomes for health care. That is insane. You got 500,000 people going bankrupt because they cannot pay their medical bills. We're spending twice as much per capita on health care as do the people of any other country. Look, we've talked about health care for all in this country for over 100 years. Now is the time to take on the greed and corruption of the healthcare industry, of the drug companies, and finally provide health care to all through a Medicare for All single-payer program. It won't be easy, but that is what we have to do.
You can do it without that. You can do it without Medicare for All. You can get the same place.
No, you definitely cannot. In fact, experts have looked at Biden's plan, and he leaves millions of people uninsured. You're not going to get there without Medicare for All. It's just not going to happen. So, listen. The giveaway was again in the follow-up question. They asked Biden, does Bernie owe us a price tag? You asked Bernie about, how are you going to pay for it? 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 You ask Bernie that, and then you go to Biden and you say, Biden, how's Bernie going to pay for it? Come on, bro. You guys aren't even trying. You're not trying. It's so transparent. By the way, this is like attempt number 14, 15 in our 7 debates where they ask, how are you going to pay for it? They did over 30 minutes on war, particularly with Iran. They never once asked, how are we going to pay for it? They never once asked, how are we going to pay for it with any foreign affair, any intervention or war. But Medicare for All, it's the only question they ask. Forget about asking it a couple times. It's the only question they ask. I got an idea. How about you ask Biden why his plan leaves millions of people uncovered? How about you ask the candidates who are not for Medicare for All what they plan to do about the 500,000 medical bankruptcies we have in this country every single year? How about you ask the people who are not for Medicare for All how they feel about the 32,000 to 45,000 deaths that occur every year because people don't have access to basic health care. Oh, you're not going to ask that. You're only going to ask the cost question. It's only going to be for Medicare for all because these, moderators, these reporters are basically doing the bidding of the for-profit health insurance companies and Big Pharma. And I have a story that we'll get to later, which you're going to be floored by. It is a question, I kid you not, which was probably literally written by a Big Pharma lobbyist, an executive, who Wolf Blitzer asked the question, and it's like straight out of Big Pharma Propaganda 101. It's stunning. He didn't even bother to switch it up a little bit to mask it. No, mask off. Here. Big Pharma Propaganda, go. Respond. Unbelievable. But guys, here we are. The 7,312th time they ask, how are you going to pay for Medicare for all? When every single time Bernie answers, he's correct. And when he says, it saves money. The question is not, how do we afford Medicare for all? The question should be, how do we afford not to do Medicare for all? How do we afford our current system? There was a very detailed analysis that looked into this from the University of Massachusetts Amherst, and they found that Medicare for all saves $5 trillion over a decade. Even if you take the furthest right-wing bias study from the Libertarian Mercatus Institute that was Koch brothers funded, it saves $2 trillion. So you have a window of Medicare for all saving anywhere from $2 trillion to $5 trillion. I think some estimates go above $5 trillion. But either way, you're talking about saving money with Medicare for all. Right now, we spend more than the rest of the developed world when it comes to our health care. We spend like double, close to double what other countries spend, and we get worse health outcomes, and not everybody's covered. When you get rid of the unnecessary, rapacious, for-profit, mafia middleman getting in between you and your doctor, turns out you save the average person money. But it's like they never learn, they never listen to his answer because the point is to do propaganda. It's a propaganda question. It's to bias it up front and just plant that seed in people's minds like, oh yeah, I guess we can't pay for it, right? So that's the whole point here. The whole point is the bias in the framing up front. That's the trick. And they just hope that people tune out as Bernie's talking. Now, if I was coaching Bernie, I would have him sharpen up his answers a little bit. He gave a very good answer, and he is a rather plain-spoken, straight-to-the-point kind of dude. But I would even sharpen it even more because the questions are always very to the point. And then if you take a while to respond, people can get lost. They don't have great attention spans. So you just want to make it as snappy and to the point as humanly possible. And this is actually what Trump was so good at, and I think it's one of the reasons he won, is that he disarms immediately. He just flips it right back on whoever's coming at him immediately, whether it's the question or, somebody who's on the debate stage with him. And, I would coach Bernie to be a little more snappy in that respect as well early on. Like when they ask, how are you going to pay for it? He should immediately flip it back and say, how can we afford not to do it? It saves money. Now, he said that, but he kind of drew it, it was drawn out a little bit longer. So I don't know. I think it was good, but I do think we can get a little bit more snappy, a little bit more to the point. And it's just a shame that there's this relentless bias and, Biden is framed as the serious guy and all the other candidates who are not for Medicare for all is framed as the serious people, when any serious objective analysis would instantly uncover the fact that we're the outlier in the developed world and our system is the worst according to the studies on it. That's not Kyle Kulinski speaking. So it's just, they're never going to paint an accurate picture for you. And this is why the media is biased, and this is why they're terrible, and this is why they suck at their job.